Welcome to American Christian or Christian American. I'm Sean Legacy and I'm your host. If you haven't seen my videos before, I encourage you to go back and check out the earlier ones because they set a foundation, especially the first couple of videos. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. There is no fee for that. If you push join on some channels, that's going to be a fee to join to support the channel. Subscribing, there is no fee. It simply helps the channel to grow and it gets you the videos faster. Also, if you like the video, please push the like button. This can encourage other people to see it. It will also help the algorithm with YouTube. So today we're going to be talking about prisons. And I have a couple of videos to play in the beginning. One is with Tim Wise talking about policing, and another one who talks about his background, but then compares it to the situation with prisons in the country. And after that, then we'll talk about that, and then we have a little bit more to talk about. What I want to do today is talk about what our prisons are for, or what they should be for, and what America does with its prisons. Because American prisons are a combination of brutality, torture, violence, racism, profit from major corporations, and dehumanization. In fact, they don't rehabilitate people. Many times, they create better criminals than they get rid of. They don't help this country. It is also true that in this country, prisons are a way for people to get revenge. They've been wronged, the person's been murdered in their family, which is a terrible thing. But if we claim to be a Christian nation, which we're not, but if you claim to be a Christian, think about this. It's God who takes revenge. Now, there should be a form of punishment, yes. And there should be an idea of protecting people, yes. But the idea of just getting revenge with somebody doesn't help you to overcome your pain. You may think it does, but all it does is create a hateful spirit within your heart. And it doesn't help society. And think about this. Much of the violence that exists in our society comes from one major source, racism. It comes from a source where many of the criminals in our society, all the political criminals and the mass shootings are white males, which has come from an idea of this racist society that dehumanizes and degrades other people. And we are trained to be violent. We are trained to brutalize other people. And yes, there are African Americans who committed violence in that aspect as well. But the society has also, by dehumanizing, denying, and degrading African Americans, has encouraged violence. In fact, because Caucasians took violence through slavery, through Jim Crow, through the civil rights era, and still continues today to take oppress people, they create violence. They instill violence in people by committing violence against people. So really, our society has been created to be a violent nation since the beginning. When we landed here on the shores of this continent, what did we do? We brought slaves here. We murdered and massacred the Native Americans. We killed Mexican people and went to war with them and justified that we took the land from them. And today, we are still talking about deporting illegal immigrants who actually were descendants of people who owned the land in the first place, at least part of it. So that's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to play these two videos, and then we'll talk some more, and then we'll get into a further discussion of what prisons could or should be, or at least something like it.
So we have to understand the past in order to understand what's going on now. It's not just with the presidency, though. It's with the inequalities that you see when you look around. Like, for instance, if you don't understand the history of law enforcement misconduct in black space, in black communities, Black Lives Matter won't make any sense to you. Now, I want to be very clear when I talk about the history of law enforcement misconduct. I'm not talking about every damn cop. I'm not talking about good cops and bad cops, good people and bad people. I'm talking about a history and a culture of law enforcement that has simply not treated black and brown peoples the same as white folks. And anyone who denies that what I just said is true has not studied history and is not competent to speak about it, right? Because the history of policing traces directly back to slave patrols. That was the first iteration of law enforcement on this land in any real formal sense. It was police, after all, who enforced the slave codes. It was police who enforced segregation after slavery was ended. It was police who conspired to engage in lynchings of thousands of black bodies, releasing suspected criminals or people who weren't even suspected of a crime into the hands of the mob. It was police that pulled protesters off of sit-in stools in the 1960s. It was police that turned water cannons and dogs on children in the streets of Birmingham. It was police that did the same and beat protesters on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. It was cops, along with uniformed military personnel, that rampaged in Mexican-American communities in Los Angeles during the Zoot Suit riots in 1943. That was law enforcement. It wasn't just average people. It was people whose job was to, quote unquote, enforce the law. The problem is, if you live in a society where the laws are unjust, everyone who enforces those laws is engaged in injustice by definition, you see? It's not about good people and bad people. It's about if a system is flawed, the people who enforce that system are culpable. And people of color know that, right? Black folks know, for instance, and brown folk know that it's law enforcement that enforces the war on drugs, which is not about drugs. And we know it's not about drugs. Two reasons that I know it. Number one, the data tells me. What does the data tell me? Every source you want to consult says that white folks use drugs and sell drugs and possess drugs at least as often, if not more often, than black and brown folks do, right? Just as likely to possess, just as likely to use, just as likely to deal. But who gets arrested? We know it's black and brown folks 5 times more likely on average to be incarcerated for drugs. African Americans 4 times more likely to be busted for weed than white folks, even though usage rates for weed are virtually identical. So that's one way that we know it's not about drugs, that we know it's about controlling certain people. And if police are the ones doing that, then why are we surprised that black folks are cynical about policing, right? Why is that shocking? It shouldn't be. The other reason I know the war on drugs is not about drugs is that I'm standing here. And here's what I mean by that. If the war on drugs were actually about drugs, I don't know who'd be giving this talk, but I know it sure as hell wouldn't be me, because I don't think y'all would let me Skype this in from prison. And that's where I'd be right about now if the war on drugs were actually about drugs. And I can admit that because the statute of limitations has expired on this, so nobody can touch me now, right? No, I don't need like applause for weed. Like, that's weird. Like, you don't need to, woo-hoo, he used to get high. Woo, you know. No, it's all good. My asthma came back. I can't do that anymore. But, and I got kids. I'm trying to set an example. But my point is, right, if the war on drugs were really about drugs, myself and a whole lot of other white folks would be doing time, right? Because, I worked in public housing projects as a community organizer for about 15 months in the 90s, and I saw fewer drugs in public housing than I saw on a typical weekend on the 8th floor of the dorm where I lived my freshman year of college at Tulane University, uptown in New Orleans, right? I saw fewer drugs in 15 months in public housing than I saw on a typical Saturday night in room 804, y'all, which I think was my room. But I can't be sure because drugs were involved. But you get the point, right? War on drugs isn't about that. So if law enforcement enforces the law that way, that's why people of color are going to look sideways at cops.
White privilege, I was born dirt poor. Roaches in our food, mattresses on the floor, eviction notices taped to the doors, kind of poor. My parents, their side hustle was beating me and my siblings bloody. I missed more meals than I can count. When we did eat, it was ramen, canned foods, or whatever we could steal from the gas station. There were 8 of us kids. Don't come at me like I grew up in some quiet backwoods town either. We weren't hearing deer rifles. We were hearing 9mm and Glocks on a nightly basis. Not because we were hunting, because we were dodging stray bullets in the inner city. I had a baby as a teenager, thought maybe I could break the cycle. Went to college, flunked out quick. Life was swinging before I even had a chance to plant my feet. Then the military came knocking. Promised me structure, a future, and a way out. What I got? Another flavor of hell. Straight out of basic, they shipped me to Afghanistan. 19 years old, couldn't buy a beer back home, but I could carry a rifle, kick indoors, and watch friends die in pieces. I came home to a wife who had cheated on me while I deployed, ended in divorce, missed my baby's first steps, first words, first everything. I got the title Dad, but only for 2 days every other week when the courts allowed me. So I drank. I numbed it out. I drowned it in alcohol and women. Hopped from job to job, security, government contracts, even worked with the feds for a minute. But it all fell apart. I ended up homeless, ashamed, alone, and broken. Now, I've been sober for 4 years, been through more therapy than most folks can stomach, read hundreds of books, and here's what I figured out. As bad as I have had it, if I was black, I probably wouldn't have survived it. That ain't an opinion, that's truth. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but 38% of the prison population. 1 in 3 black boys born today, they're expected to end up behind bars. That ain't by accident. That is policy. That's centuries of systemic racism passed off as justice. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery, it rebranded it. It says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. That's why we got corporations making billions off of prison labor while folks inside earn cents an hour if they're lucky. That clause was written to target black Americans, and it's still doing exactly that. Now I run an organization called West Virginia Fights Back. We feed people, we take care of people. No strings, no red tape, no begging for scraps. We take care of our own because the government won't. My dream? A Fights Back chapter in every damn state. Abolish the prison industrial complex. Burn the cage down. Build something real in its place. Fred Hampton said you can jail a revolutionary.
Okay, after seeing these 2 videos, there's so much stuff out here if you really want to know the truth and how our prison systems are so brutal. If you've watched about the Central Park 5 and the brutality that these young men had to go through being in adult prisons, if you look at the statistics that black people are much more likely to be put in prison than white people. And look at that white man who talked about the history and everything else. This country, our prison systems is really about torture in many ways, but it's also a continuation of slavery. You see, part of the problem is that once you go into the prison systems, you lose your right to vote. And so you no longer have political power. And so white folk in this country, white supremacist country, continue to have power, and they expand their power. They have done everything they can from day one in this country until the present day, and then a reassertion of it going on through MAGA and Trump is because they want to control this land through white supremacy and racism. They want a purely white country. They don't want these people here, but they have denied and dehumanized them all this time. Our prison systems are not about rehabilitation. Our prison systems are not about making society better. In fact, our prison systems encourage violence in our society. Our society is an extremely violent country for being the best country in the world. I don't think so. Make America great again? What? Make America more violent again. Is there an alternative? Yes. And I have a longer video here I want to show you. It's an excerpt from Michael Moore's Where to Invade Next. And why Michael Moore has used a little sarcasm and comedy, he's still talking about real things. And he talks about the Norway prison system. He just goes to 2 different prisons. So be patient. Watch this about 9 minutes or 8 minutes. It's long.
probably this is one of the most peaceful societies in this part of Norway. I'm quite sure of it. And I think in general what we're trying to do here is run a society which is as normal as possible, because we want to teach them how to be good neighbors when they're enlisted. It's all about this creating good neighbors. There are killers, rapists, robbers, drug addicts.
Welcome to the Norwegian prison system, based on the principle of rehabilitation, not revenge. I want to meet prisoners.
Yeah, you want to meet prisoners?
Yeah.
You're meeting one now.
You're a prisoner dressed like this?
Yes. So this is the house, and in here is the living room. It's a nice, okay view. And this is my room. It's pretty okay.
Yeah, so this is your cell.
Yes.
Did they lock you in at night?
No, I'm the only one that has the key for it, so...
We watch TV, we can play
bicycle, running, swimming.
fishing.
Wait a minute, what do you mean swimming? You can swim to the other side?
That is not allowed. From another side you can swim here, but you cannot swim from here to another side.
Because they call escape.
You're in prison for murder.
Yeah.
You killed somebody.
Yeah.
I can't help but notice that right behind you are a whole bunch of very sharp knives.
Yeah. Yes.
Nobody here is worried about that, or
No. No.
should I be worried about that?
No,
You're not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it.
That is just for make food, that is not weapon. And only for that. That is last one.
I love this.
Yeah.
If I could get one of these to take home, I would have ketchup on everything. That is like the coolest. Look at it, it's still going.
Yeah.
In the weekend, it's 4 guards at work in another building.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And how many of you are there here?
115.
115.
Yeah.
So, and 4 guards.
Yeah.
Wow. Warden, where's the punishment? Where is the punishment?
The main idea is we're just supposed to take away their freedom. That's the only punishment we're actually giving them. They miss their family, they miss their friends.
Right.
But I think, and I hope, when you speak to them, they will also feel that we're trying to help them back to the same society.
You know, this is going to be very hard for Americans to see this. This looks very strange to understand why you're doing it, why you do your prison system this way.
I don't understand why you think this is a strange idea. This is an American idea. Your founding fathers put in your constitution, it says no cruel or unusual punishment. You wrote that.
We have to show more love and affection for each other, to take care of each other in another way. This is the way.
Yeah.
And this is the essence of life, you know.
If we showed a little more love and affection and kindness toward each other.
Yeah. This is the way, and this is so important. So important.
Yeah. The U.S. has one of the highest recidivism rates in the world. Nearly 80% of prisoners are rearrested within 5 years. Norway has one of the lowest, at 20%. And that was something I was claiming for the USA. Of course, I was visiting a model prison, a place for inmates who were being rewarded for their good behavior. I said it wasn't fair to show the American public their nicest place. I wanted to see a maximum security facility. And that's where I went. When the prison first opened in 2010, the guards wanted to send a strong message to the new inmates. So they made this orientation video.
There comes a time when we hear the sudden call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying, and it's time to lend a hand to live the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change.
Is that Braille? Braille for the blind?
Yeah, for the blindness. It's art. Modern art.
You have modern art throughout the prison here.
We are the world. We are the children.
We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives.
It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me.
How many fights have you been in?
I have never been in fights, actually.
You don't need a knife to protect yourself with?
Oh, no.
No.
We don't need that.
No. Show me your wounds so that now there are times you've been stabbed.
Oh, no, never.
Never been stabbed?
I've never been stabbed.
How many times have you been beaten up here by other prisoners?
No, never.
How many times have you been raped in the shower?
Never. This is not going to happen because you got your own shower.
Oh, here's the bed.
Okay, that's a bed.
Yeah.
TV.
Got the flat screen TV.
Mm-hmm.
You got your shopping, you got your clothes, then a fan if you feel hot. I'm painting, and besides that, I'm studying art class,
You're taking philosophy class.
I'm gonna have exam after summer, so I want to work with community problems and things like that. Maybe politics later on, so...
That's not a bad idea. Go to prison first, then become a politician. And speaking of politicians, as in Portugal, prisoners in Norway can vote. And in order to get their votes, candidates show up for election debates, televised live from inside the prison.
Hvordan i all verden kan du forsvare det som justisminister?
Jeg kan ikke forsvare det.
I had to keep reminding myself this was a maximum security facility. Here, the inmates have keys too. And this inmate was a murderer. They had Xboxes and a library as nice as any suburban high school library in the U.S.
Library is the most popular place in the prison.
They even had their own record label and a recording studio.
Music can actually open a lot of the creativity inside of them. And if it's one thing said about the guys here, they are very creative in all sorts of ways.
I know some of you might be thinking about this clip, with Michael Moore saying, "Oh, that's ridiculous." I mean, what good is to have a prison? We don't torture them. We don't make them feel terrible for what they did. But see, our society has been built to be a violent society. We have been trained to be violent. How we're trained? Well, we were trained by Caucasian people who came to this country and instituted violence from the get-go. It's okay if these people are less than us to be violent, to take what we want, because many Christian groups, starting with Catholicism and others, justified taking the lives of people who didn't do what they wanted them to do. Now, this is in God's hands. God will judge us if we don't follow what he wants. But God knows everything. We don't. We just do it because we want power and control. We don't rehabilitate anybody in this country, really. People may decide to change their ways themselves, but America has an 80% recidivism, meaning that 80% of prisoners who go to prison once and get out will be returned or rearrested within 5 years. And Norway has only 20% recidivism, meaning they are rehabilitating people to go back into society. We also, I don't know what Norway does, we don't help people get back in society very easy. We make it hard for them to get a job, hard for them to do other things. But if you look at Norway society and the way they look at things, They're actually trying to help these people be part of society. Now, all of us have committed wrongs in life. All of us have done wrong to other people in life. Not all of us have killed somebody. No. Not all of us have raped somebody. No. And yes, these are horrific crimes. But let's be truthful about it. The United States does not really care about these crimes. Maybe some police officers do. But the system itself is about having power over people. It's about large corporations making profits out of for-profit prisons, where these large corporations have the prisoners do labor for them, paying them pennies on a dollar, and then there's less jobs for us to do as well, paying a good wage. Now, I think prisoners should be paid a minimum wage. And should be, a minimum wage should be higher than what it is. And part of that money goes towards for them themselves. Part of it should go for family members who are maybe outside, which would help them make it through from losing that person who may be a father or mother to children or whatever else. And then part of it put away for that person's long-term future if they're going to get out. And if they're going to get out, they would have some type of nest egg, and we could be control how it's distributed, that they could take their place in society. You see, we look at these prisoners and the monstrous things we say they do, but we don't look at the history of the monstrous things that our government has done. And they're okay. But look at the Norwegian system. Their punishment is what? Being separated from their family, giving restriction to their movements, but they don't brutalize them. They don't treat them like they're trash. They treat them as human beings, giving them a place to stay and treating them how to live. And they're trying to have them explore other things than what they have been used to. It's also about protecting the public, yes. And we're going to talk about one more situation here where there was a very violent situation of a racist individual in Norway. And he's probably not going to get out of prison. Not because they're trying to torture him or punish him, more so because they want to protect Norwegian citizens and they don't believe that he's going to change his mind. We're going to see a little clip of that and then an interview. Michael Moore interviews a father. This man blew up a bomb near the capital of Norway. He proceeded then to go off to an island where he mass murdered children or teenagers, all because they belonged to the Labour Party, and he wanted them to change their politics, and this was a warning to them. He was guilty of murdering 77 people, many of them children. So I'm going to show a short clip of that, and then I want you to understand the father that we're going to talk to is his son was one of the children that were killed. And I want you to look at his attitude, the way he thinks about things. And then I want you to take a look at your own attitude and the attitudes of our country. Because that man, whether he's a Christian or not, resembles more of a Christian than many people in this country.
In 2011, during just one afternoon, Anders Breivik embarked on a murderous rampage that would send shockwaves around the globe.
We all had the sensation that an act of war was really taking place.
As the clock ticked, the body count rose.
We had no idea if there was 15 people shooting, one person shooting.
Death toll was just rising all the time.
Now I was convinced I was dead.
And with it the question, why had Breivik waged a 3.5-hour war on his own innocent countrymen?
It's like trying to understand Ted Bundy or Adolf Hitler.
And committed history's deadliest killings.
This is Trond Blattman, a plumber by trade. On July 22nd, 2011, he lost his 17-year-old son when he was murdered with 54 other teenagers on a summer camp island in a lake in Norway. One killer who espoused neo-Nazi and racist beliefs not only killed all of these children, but blew up a federal building in downtown Oslo.
My
son called me from the island and said, Daddy, there's somebody shooting at us on the island. What are we going to do? I'd never been on the island, so I didn't know what to answer. And I said, are you together with other people, other youngsters? Yes. Well, then hide and stick together, take care of each other, and be careful. He called me around 5:20, and he was dead just past 6.
Do you wish that your son had a gun instead of a cell phone that day?
What I wished that he had done was to swim.
Because the ones who swam survived.
We don't have death sentences here in Norway, so we kind of said that the mass murderer, he's going to have the same kind of treatment as everybody else. The justice system is going to judge him, and he's going to have his sentence.
You cared about whether he had a fair trial?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
You yourself?
Yeah.
But don't you personally want to kill him?
No.
If you had the chance?
No.
If you had the chance?
No.
But he killed your son.
Yeah, but no.
You don't want to kill him?
No.
But he killed your son.
Yeah, he killed my son.
You wouldn't want to.
But I don't want to step down on the ladder and say, I have the same right as you thought you had to kill. I don't have the same right.
Even though he's just a piece of scum.
Yeah, but I know he's a piece of scum, but it doesn't give me the right to shoot him or kill him.
So after this horrible act of terrorism, Norway didn't change its system. You don't try to institute a Patriot Act.
No.
You don't try to take away people's freedoms.
No.
You're cautiously thinking about arming the police style, but even that is bothersome and worrisome. Why didn't you respond the way we responded after 9/11?
Well, let me put it this way. The whole establishment, from the Prime Minister, through the King's family and all of the officials in Norway, all of the press, the media, said, well, let's now take care of Norway. As we have been used to taking care of each other, we take care of Norway. So we stay together, we open our hearts, we open our society. We're going to have more democracy, more freedom of speech, because to lock up wouldn't help us. That would just create more hatred.
As we can see, Norway has its problems, but they are accustomed to caring for each other. They are accustomed to promoting each other. And Norway has immigrants. Norway has black people. Obviously, we can't say that there isn't any racism because this man was a racist. But overall, the society thinks different than America. America thinks through white supremacy and hatred. We have a distorted, or shall I say, a warped sense of God and Christianity. We try to take God and what he is, take it in our own hands. We promote hate in this country. We always have from the very beginning. And we have an American ego that pumps us up to think that we are so superior. We're not. It does everything it can to make us think that we are better than other people. We're not. If we really want to change the prison system, and we incarcerate more people than anywhere else in the world in this free society, if we were such a good society, we wouldn't need to put so many people in jail. But the point is, it's not about punishment. It's not about rehabilitation. It's about power and slavery and getting people out of the way. And it is about taking away people's right to vote, keeping them in control, continuing what was started when this country was founded. This country is not about decency. There are good and decent people in this country, but that's not what this country is about. Norway has set us an example. Now, this man will probably never get out of prison because he's a danger to Norway, but they still treat him with respect while he's in prison. We are a long way off from being like Norway. We're a long way off from being like other countries who treat their citizens with decency and respect and providing people with health care. And we like to criticize the system, but the whole thing about the reason people don't have health care in this country is because they wanted black people to get sick and die. And they don't care about the poor whites either. So these are all lies. And of course, economics has gotten in there. So the insurance companies and the drug companies are making a killing. But the reason it all started is because they hated other people and wanted them to die. We have so much violence and hatred in the society, it is just phenomenal. And I have no delusions to think this can be cured or taken away so easily. It would probably take centuries. But if we stand up, we can push things in a better direction and improve things. But we have to wake up. We have to drop this American ego. We have to admit that this country was founded on hatred, not on freedom. We have to admit what it was all about in order to change things in the future. Because if we stick with this ego, we will deny everything. Until the next time, an American Christian or Christian American.